So we're going to go Ois Dalet now. V'hinei. Zeu inyan Mishkan imigdosh. So we went through all this in the beginning. The first year we started talking about the Gemara in Erevin that says Ashkechom Mishkan the Ikre Migdosh and Migdosh the Ikre Mishkan. So now after he's explained to us a little bit about this combination of being Meyached the Yichud, which is what the Mishkan and the Migdosh represent, he says that this is the inyan of Mishkan and Migdosh. Mishkan Rotzeloi Meshchinas Hashem Yisborach B'toichenu. V'zeh asoi Moshe. Moshe brought down the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to shine within a nation of humanity, right? Yaakov was the first one of Klal Yisrael that was considered to be mitasa shlema. He didn't have any psoilus in his children. Because Avram, who represents the Midas HaChesed, says Reb Tzodok, the Midas HaChesed has psoilus. And what's the psoilus of the Midas HaChesed? That sometimes you can have chesed with no boundaries and it's going to cause damage. So when there is chesed with no boundaries, which means the person is going after pleasure and he has no picture, has no image of the consequences, he's not a chochem aroyes hanoiled. So then his chesed could cause pain for other people. And that's not real chesed, that's not authentic chesed. So that's the psoilus, that's Yishmael that comes out of Avram Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu is the midah of gvura, the midah of discipline. When discipline is not applied properly, that's the midah of Esav, the midah of Ritzicha, the midah of Edom. That it's discipline for the sake of discipline. Like we see in the religion, that they don't respect the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a human being. They don't respect, like by us, the Kohen Gadol needs to have a wife, and not only a wife, he needs to have a backup wife on Yom Kippur. So he doesn't remain without a wife. And by them it's the extreme opposite. That's a type of Ritzicha. They don't recognize the pruervu that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has an interest, that people should populate this planet and people should unite. V'hoyu l'basar echad. To us, this is the basic principle of what the Torah is based on. And Yishmael is the other way around, where people lack discipline, and there could be people taking advantage of other people, and that's also psoilus. But the one who has mitasa shlema, that there's no psoilus, that's Yaakov Avinu, the midas Yisrael, and that's why we are called Bnei Yisrael, meaning that even though there are many different types of people within us and amongst us, and we ourselves change to many types of people throughout our life, still there's a unity, there's a Yisrael that has no psoilus, meaning that all these different elements of ourselves and other that you find in Klal Yisrael, they all serve the purpose of the eventual unity, of the eventual recognition that somebody created all this for a purpose and it all works together perfectly. So Moshe Rabbeinu started this Ashras HaShechina when he took Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. Ki meis matan Torah hitzchul ze'or li es-shechen emekashkesh kepamin bekerev lev bnei Yisrael. This light started shining and started waking up in Klal Yisrael ever since that moment. That they recognized that being human is not a mundane experience. Being human is a deeply spiritual experience, whether you're aware of it or not. And there are very, very deep and significant and permanent spiritual consequences to everything that we do. And it doesn't make life scary. Life's not scary. Life when lived properly is actually very convenient, very easy, very pleasurable. As you can see, HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepared for us everything that we need so that we have what we need. I mean, all we have to do is see how nature provides our food. And nature is the only one that provides our food. Everybody that's involved in delivering food to us is just carrying from nature to nature, mixing different natural elements and ingredients. But everything that we eat, everything that we consume is provided by nature. There's nowhere else to take anything from. So this is amazing. The trees are providing food, the animals are having children. This is because it's all working together to create some type of perfection that we need to learn how to tune into. So Moshe Rabbeinu made people aware that this is the ultimate purpose of humanity. This is the purpose of why there is a globe, why there is a world. because there's a language here that the world is speaking to us and telling us how to find balance, how to find our way. The seasons are speaking to us. The breathing is speaking to us. The things we consume are speaking to us. Everything is telling us something. And Moshe Rabbeinu was an expert at listening. And that's how he found so much truth in such simple things that other people overlooked. So at the time, people were serving idol worship. Idol worship means that they were looking at nature and trying to figure out hacks of how to be able to get more energy or more happiness or more whatever it is they imagine they need. And they were trying to figure out which forces of nature do I need to become close to in order to be able to receive what it is that I think I want. But Moshe Rabbeinu was here to tell us that it's not about that. This system does not have to be gamed. In fact, when you're gaming the system, you're gaming yourself out of a reward. Because the system works straight. Elikim baras adam yashar, and this is what Klal Yisrael is based on. Yashar El. That's what Yisrael stands for. That we see the divine in a straight way. That we don't have to look into complexity in order to find the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We look into the simplicity to find the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We try to recognize what did he intuitively create and what is he intuitively trying to tell us through the nature that he created. Because he created it on purpose this way. It has meaning. And obviously this is an intellectual test, so to speak. This is something that not everybody is capable of recognizing, not everybody is capable of noticing. Many people can go through their entire lifetime and not even notice that there's anything to ponder. It just seems like it all makes sense. And that just shows that this is a worker bee. He didn't come here to ponder, probably. He came here to do the job so somebody else can ponder. But if once we open our minds to what's actually happening, then we can recognize very easily that something is working all these elements to some kind of a goal, some kind of a purpose, some kind of a direction. And the first thing we need to do in order to remove any hindrance from recognizing what's real is the argumentative nature that we have between ourselves and the way we consider ideas and the way we discuss life and the way we convince other people of what we think. Because the argumentative nature just makes it so much more difficult for us to ever arrive at any truth. Once the egos get involved, then it's not the principle or idea being discussed, it's more the individuals that are discussing it. And that's what ruins the whole vision. That's what ruins our ability to see. It's when we make it personal that we don't see anymore. We just see ourselves, our interests that we were told we have, and we're not working towards this unity. So Moshe Rabbeinu, this was his duty in life, to wake up these people and to make them recognize that they're not here in a mundane world. The mundane world that they think they're living in doesn't actually exist. This world is not a mundane world. This world is a spiritual paradise for those who can recognize it, or it can be a spiritual hell for those who can't recognize it. And eventually, when they wake up from their slumber, they realize what it really was. And that's why they always told us that life is a time where you can collect diamonds and precious stones. And it's like a child that gets sent to an island, and the diamonds and precious stones are like regular rocks over there. And the child just wastes his time, he plays with the rocks, and he doesn't really collect, he doesn't do what he needs to do in order to gain, a big collection. That's because he doesn't believe, he doesn't really understand how important can a rock be. A rock is just a rock. But when he comes back to civilization and he recognizes what was possible over there, and with a little rock that happened to get stuck in his pocket, he can buy a half a town. So then he realizes what he missed. And this is exactly what this world is like. Every word you say is worth more than diamonds, because it's real. Because once it comes out of your mouth and it goes into the other person's ear and it goes into your own ear, then it's real. You've created something, you've manifested. And you might think that's so big deal, everybody's doing it. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Think about your life. If a person is born and then he gets to do nothing and he passes away, right? Isn't it a lost opportunity? Don't we feel that, wow, he should have had the ability to live, he should have gotten the chance? Well, we're still alive, but we still deserve the chance to live. And the chance to live is not simply to repeat what everybody else is doing. The chance to live means that you should think and say something of your own. That you should recognize something deeply within yourself that's beyond all the words everybody has ever told you. That's more close to you, more dear to you, and more true to you than anything you've ever heard. And then you start creating a relationship with yourself, with the depth of your soul, which is more important than the relationship with anybody else you have. Because the relationship with yourself, you're going to carry with you for eternity. And this is a good start. This is a good time for a head start with that relationship. So we don't start the relationship after we leave our bodies. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to wake this up in Klal Yisrael in a way that it can never fall asleep again. So that people never go back to life and say, oh, it's just boring. It's nothing happening. I don't even know the purpose. I don't get it. While you don't get it, there's plenty to do. People are in need. You yourself are in need. And when we fulfill our needs, when we actually find our place in this world, we find our place in our bodies and in our minds, then suddenly we can go deeper. Maybe we can make some sense of certain things. Maybe life cannot be figured out, but behavior, relationships, people, we can make a lot of progress understanding those things if we only pay enough attention to it. So that's what Moshe was trying to do, to that Klal Yisrael, the heart should never fall asleep the way that it was asleep before then. And that's what he accomplished. That after Matan Torah, even if Klal Yisrael were to go into the 50th Shar of Tima, which according to the Orach HaKodesh, that's where we're in right now, we can still come out. We can come out because of the Torah, because there's something in us that's connected, that's attached, that realizes that as strong as the imagination makes the image of what life is, we know that it's better than that. We know that it's more than that. We know that that's not all that it is. And as soon as we come into this world and we lose our ability to have access to the spiritual, right after the child is born and the malach takes away the Torah that it learned, it doesn't have the ability to ponder the spiritual, and therefore we only know what we were told in this life. But we're still connected. We still have somewhere within us the ability to connect ourselves to something deeper, to something more, to realize that even though we seem dry, we seem tired, we seem insignificant, the Torah states that we're anything but. We're extremely, extremely important, powerful, and precious. But this is the game we need to play over here, that we don't know. Why? Because when we don't know, that's when we see what do we really believe, what do we really think. Once we'll know who we are, that's not a test. That's easy. And that's the way it's going to be. That's why it's called, the Olam Haba is called Yomim She'en Be'em Chayfetz. Yom She'en Be'em Chayfetz means like there's no desire in them, there's no interest. Why is there no interest? Because there's no demonstration of who you really are. You're not demonstrating your true colors. Everybody is good, everything is good, so of course you're good also. But now is a world where people can distinguish who they are. They can distinguish what they represent. Like they say by Reuven, when Reuven was trying to save Yosef from the bar, that if Reuven would have known that it was going to be written in the Torah, then he would have made a much bigger effort. So we need to recognize everything we do is going to be written in a Torah. And that Torah is going to be our Torah. It's going to be our life. So if you would do more, if it was written in the Torah, then do more. Then do more. Because it's that significant. It's that real. Whatever your imagination tells you that being written in the Torah means, whatever is happening in life is even more important than that. It's more real than that. It's more significant. It has more consequences. It continues for longer. It goes and it goes and it goes for eternity. Every single thing that we do continues for eternity. Because that's the nature of life. If our great-great-great-grandfather did something different a few hundred years ago, then the world would look different now. We would look different. We might not even be here. So everything is significant. And that's why we want to make sure that it's coming from the right source, so that when we fulfill a desire that's within us, we're fulfilling it to a spirit that's kind, a spirit that's good, to something that's helping humanity, not something that's hurting humanity. Mikdash, so that's all the Mishkan. The Mishkan is the recognition that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shoichen within Klal Yisrael. Mikdash ulishin kedusha v'avdula v'yargoshes anivdol. So there's a mikdash, there's a kedusha that's even more muvdal than that you recognize that the same or that's mitzumtzum here, that's tiny in your mind, that seems insignificant, that feels so not powerful sometimes, is the exact same or that is muflo mechusa, that's the complete unity. That's the echad yochad miyichad. It's the exact same one. He has the ability to be infinite, but he also has the ability to be not infinite. That's how big he is. He can be everything at once. But it's the exact same thing. Meaning, just because he limited you in perception doesn't mean that you're limited in essence. The essence is the same essence. It's life. It's existence. That's what he gives. And the perception, the understanding of this existence, the being able to contemplate what's happening, that everybody has according to their shir, that everybody has according to their development, how much they develop spiritually so they can be able to contemplate what's really happening. So the Mishkan is the chelik that's shoichen inside of you. You realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a shechina that can be shoichen within a human being, that can help him and guide him as soon as he opens up his heart to good. And the Mikdash is that this light that is so mitzumtzam, that's so small, that's guiding you, is the exact same light that is echad yuchadim yichad atu hiat sheniv lo'elam atu mishniv lo'elam, the exact same one. He's just dressed up differently. Because he dresses up according to each situation, he dresses up according to each reality, for each person differently. So that is the Mikdash. Zeh madreges Yaakov Avinu al Hashem shekorei bayis k'meshem Arizal k'yediyah madreges Yaakov emes liYaakov Yishem Havaya shezeu bayis kavua. So when Yaakov looks at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't look at him like lokum Avram shekorei har, lokum Yitzchak shekorei sodeh. What does it mean, bias? A bias means that this place, this world, is not an area where HaKadosh Baruch Hu passes. It's not an area where HaKadosh Baruch Hu shines into. It's not an area that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking to make better. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home. This is it. From here, he gives life to all the Sorei Mala. Everything based on this. This is his home. So the Har is elsewhere. The Sodeh is elsewhere. This world, this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home. And we have to treat him that way. We have to realize that wherever we go in this world, we're walking in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home. That's why in Shabbos we're not allowed to leave Rishus HaYochid. Because on Shabbos we recognize that the whole world is a Rishus HaYochid, belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no period. There's nobody else. There's nothing else. There's no Rishus HaRabim. Rishus HaRabim always refers to klippas. As soon as a person identifies that this world could be Rishus HaRabim, meaning that there's more than one that owns property in this world, so then he's into the world of the klippas. Then he's in the Olam HaPirud. So the Mikdash is the recognition that all these different forms of life are just the same form of life, the same formless life, the life that has no form, dressing up in different forms. That's what life is. Shekol davar sheyesh legvul mikra oyel arei. Shebishtalem hagvul einenu. Something has a limit. You say something is going to go for 1,000 years, for 10,000 years. As long as it has a limit, it's not a bias, it's not kavua, it's an oyel arei. It's like a sukkah. The sukkah you go in, and when you go in, you already have a date when you're going to go out. You're not there indefinitely. But when we're talking about this world, Yaakov calls this HaKadosh Baruch Hu's home, meaning this is where he resides permanently. This is his permanent residence. And this means that Yaakov foresaw a nation that's going to be able to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu within their hearts as a group, as a whole, as a people. And they're going to be able to actually navigate their lives, their physical existence, according to the laws of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how He created life. So they're going to be in complete alignment with what was created here. That's the vision. And that's when it's called a bias. A bias means something that doesn't have a gvul. Shenken dover shu kavur v'kaim la'ad, ze nivna al yidei Shlomo HaMelech alav hasholem. So Shlomo HaMelech he built the bias that's a bias kavua, that's a bias that's going to stay. And that's why Shlomo HaMelech needed all that chokhmah, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to David, that Shlomo HaMelech was born for this purpose, to be able to build a Beis HaMikdash. And it was called Yedidya, Shashem HaHevoi, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loved him before he was even born. He was designated to be loved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because that's Me'endi L'Osid. L'Osid Lovoi, every single baby that's going to be born is going to be designated to be loved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But in this world, not every child is designated to be loved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because we don't know what his parents are going to present to him. Shlomo HaMelech had David HaMelech as his father. David HaMelech was not very strong on discipline, for those who've ever read Nach. David HaMelech, it says on one of his sons, he never ever asked him, his father never asked him, why'd you do this? Never, not once. That's David HaMelech's chinuch. Even Shlomo HaMelech, it says, Sheyisrato imo, his mother gave him Musar. Batsheva gave him Musar. David HaMelech never gave Musar. Because he was raising kings. He was raising kings. How are you going to raise a king with Musar? You're going to keep knocking him down, knocking him down, knocking him down. Guess what? He's going to believe you. He's not going to be a king. So David HaMelech can raise a child that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves from before he's even born. And that's Shlomo HaMelech. He's Me'endi L'Osid, that he has the shleimus, that he could see life, he could experience life in a way that he mamish feels that life was created for him. And that's the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Shlomo HaMelech had. And that's why he could build the house, the Kedusha that's Kayemes La'ad, that in that place, in the Beis HaMikdash, we're going to rebuild, because he had the proper kavanah. Everything is according to the kavanah. So when a person has the proper leiv, the actions that he does with that leiv are permanent, are nitzchi. And that's why the place, the Kedusha, is nitzchi, because of the hearts of the people who are involved in building it. And the same thing for us. What we build with heart is built. Hashem lo yivne bayis shavam l'boinav boim, Hashem lo yish meir shav shoket shomer. Meaning, there needs to be reality to it. There needs to be a divine energy to it. And the divine energy is woken up with the unity within the heart. When a person is for real, when he's authentic, when he's really alive. So that was the koyach. Mashiach ben David shebimeim nishtam malchus Yisrael al hashleimus sheshleimus kivus haknesul v'chol ha'amim min ha'arei aleim. So the Mashiach ben David, he's going to be the one that's going to recreate that reality, and then all the nations are going to come to Klal Yisrael to learn how to be human. It's really that simple. Because we don't know. We desperately need teaching. That's why the pasuk says that there's going to come a time when v'shlachti rov ba'aretz lo rov lalechem lo tzom elamayim kim lishma es divrei Hashem. Meaning, even if they'll be hungry, they will know that it's more important for them to know who they are than to get a piece of bread, than to eat. It's more important for them to know who they are than to drink water. Why? Because eating and drinking just gives you additional time. But if you don't know what to do with that time, what have you really gained? Maybe just a little more suffering. So, lo rov lalechem, v'lo tzom elamayim. Who cares? You ate, you didn't eat. You drank, you didn't drink. Lishma es divrei Hashem. We want to know who we are first. When Moshe Rabbeinu knew properly who he was, he could sit for 40 days without food and without drink. He was in such a good state. He was so comfortable that he didn't have to exert any energy whatsoever. He didn't have to fight any stress. Nobody's running after him. He didn't have to cover any bills. He didn't have to be home at a certain time. He didn't have none of that. He was there with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the sweetest place to be. So in that place, you don't need anything else. And this is known. This happened to a lot of Gedolei Yisrael much later. The Arizal, Baal Shem Tov, they used to go for a week in the forest. They used to take along some meals, some sandwiches, whatever it was, and they would come home and most of the food would still be there. Because these people went to a state where food is not so necessary. It becomes less of a bother when you delay a meal. And that's because they're so excited to exist. They're so excited to be here that they don't need to be convinced by a meal. They're okay. They're okay doing it without any shoichad. So when Mashiach comes, the Goyim will come and try to learn from us how to be human beings. Today, we have to learn from everybody. Mikom elam de'eskalti. Every person, every idea, every concept, we need to try to see if there is purpose in that for humanity, if it can really help, if it can do something. Because today we're in a desperate place. We'll take all the help we can get. But when Klal Yisrael is in a better place, when Klal Yisrael is in the right state, then they don't need any advice from anybody. They understand what's being spoken about, and therefore they understand how to be based on the root, based on who they are, based on what's inside of them. They don't need any external measurements to tell them how they stand. And that's the shleimus that we're looking for. V'hu bir malchusa yizbarach v'adnusa b'chol ha'olam ki roimum es Yisrael hi roimum es izgalas kavod shemayim ba'olam. When Klal Yisrael is miromam, it's not to say that we as individuals are different or better. Klal Yisrael is simply demonstrating that the one who created man knows how to create. And Klal Yisrael can only demonstrate that when they know how they were created. Otherwise, they're not demonstrating it. So the demonstration that we're going to make is not about us. We're not trying to say that we're better or we're stronger or we're smarter. What we're trying to say is that man and the one who created him have a very intimate relationship. And that relationship is the solution to all our problems. Amru, Goli lebavel goes to Shechina, that the Shechina goes with Klal Yisrael, the Shechina haine Knesset Yisrael, like we discussed at length. The Shechina is the Knesset Yisrael. Wherever Knesset Yisrael is, wherever the wisdom of Klal Yisrael is Klal is Knesset Yisrael is the Shechina, because that consciousness of man, that ability of man to manifest his own being, his own personality, that's what the Shechina represents. And when Klal Yisrael doesn't know how to do it, because the Goyim's philosophies, the Goyim's way of life, the Goyim's motivations, the Goyim's cheshboinus of how to live and what's important are dominating our minds, then the Shechina is in Golus. Shechina is in Golus in that nation that's dominating our minds. And that's why as we go through history, we'll see that usually all the superpowers had the Jews in Golus in that country, giving them support, giving them power, giving them brain power to think laws and structures and systems of how to motivate people and how to make things work. But that's not really the purpose of what we came for. We should be studying the nature of man, the nature of life, the nature of the spirit, the nature of the neshama, in order for us to be able to understand what it is that we represent in this world. Because then, if we have it right, everybody will want to know this. Because it's super relevant to all of us. Guess why? Because we're all human beings. It sounds crazy. We're human beings and we need somebody else to tell us about ourselves. So what if it sounds crazy? It's true. It's true. We're born human beings and we know nothing about ourselves. And we're not even taught much about ourselves. We don't know how we function. We don't know the basics of what we're capable of or how to go about it or what are the do's or don'ts. What's the order of importance? Where do you focus first? Every person has his own idea, has his own theory about how it's supposed to be. But in the time of Chazal, There wasn't individuals with theories. There was knowledge. There was truth. There were certain standards that individuals, even if they wanted to try to figure it out on their own, they knew that there's a body of thought from the wisest people in the generation that covers this ground. If you need information, if you need access, all you have to do is go to the right address and find the Rebbe that will teach you. And these Rabbeim took it on as their life purpose to teach people wisdom. They would take them through all the different phases and help them change their midos. It was mamish like it was a very close relationship between a student and a teacher. It wasn't like today we come for an hour, we learn and we go home. This was sometimes a lifelong relationship where mamish the nefashos became almost like one over the years and years that they spent together trying to understand the depth of the student's needs and how to address them and how to make sure that he can grow as an individual, as a human being, in order to become the future generation. So people had a lot of ideas about these things and people understood the importance of it. It's only now that we got so busy that we don't get to focus on what it means to be us. We get to focus on everything else. What it means to be us, how is it we should be us, what should we do more of and what we should do less of. Not a lot of talk about that. And that's ultimately what the Torah is all about. According to Chassidus, according to Kabbalah, according to anybody that knows the Soides HaTorah, the Torah is about developing man, making man something more than he already is. Because the Torah was given to man. The Torah was written in a language for man. So whatever the information is, it's not just that there is now a sefer about that information. It's a sefer that was customized and created specifically in order to improve man, so that the information will improve man. And that's what we're looking for in the Chumash. So it's a long time ago. It's a very different mindset, but at least we need to understand the purpose of what they were trying to tell us. So if you look at the history, you can explain logically what happened. One generation, another generation, wars, fighting, being thrown out of different countries, pogroms, all these things, they have a big impact. So wisdom cannot live in a state of terror, in a state of stress, in a state of a person feeling that he's under duress, that he's not safe. And that's why Chazal knew right away that there was going to be a huge deterioration. As soon as the Churban came and the Tzara started coming, it was no secret. This whatever knowledge Klal Yisrael has is going to be obliterated and fast. Why? Because even if we can speak the words, we can't access those levels. We can't find enough relaxation for us to be able to even get to a contemplation of bliss. And bliss is the only place where you're actually interacting with the divine. This is the Reb HaKodesh speaks about this in Parshas Vayechi. That's why it says Vayechi Yaakov, that the Ruchnius can only live in a place that's alive and happy. That's why the Eine Shchina Shoyre Elem Mitoch Simcha. So we took away the Simcha. That means that even if you have the text, even if you know the words of the Chachma, you don't have the neshama of the Chachma. You don't understand what it means. You can't actually manifest those types of experiences. So if you can't convince yourself to manifest that, if your nefesh can't get into that state, so then the words become so meaningless that over a few generations, the same words could be telling you the extreme opposite of what they were telling you only a few generations before. Because it's up to the person interpreting the words to try to figure out what does it mean, why would he want to do it. So for a simple example, today, most people are not aware of the kindness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created within nature, within this world. And people assume that this world was created for suffering. This is a place where you suffer. And the only reason they assume that is because that's what they experienced. They never had access to any other way. So how, from that mindset, will a person try to understand Psuke de Zimra? where he's just trying, wow, he's so great, he's so wonderful, he's so in charge, he does everything right, and everything works perfect, and everything is working along, and everything is singing. A guy like that could relate to this? Not really. So the words are there, but the spirit is somewhere very different. The spirit is saying nice words and he's crying. It's a whole different combination. And that's because of the golus. That's what golus means. Golus means that we lose our connection to our core. We lose our connection to reality. So you still have the whole set of words, no meaning, just a shell. And in order for us to get out of this mess, we need to go the other direction. That's what the Baal Shem Tov was telling us. That in order for us to be able to go back to connect to the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we need to go there. And going there means thinking in that frequency, thinking in that format. And the Zohar speaks about this a lot. The Zohar says that when a person is be'emes chesed, when a person is a shtik chesed inside, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not judge him for his actions. Midah keneged midah. And the Zohar says that this is a good way for a person to get to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if you're going to go from a different path, which is the path of din, mi yitzdak lefonav badin. So the Zohar gives you very practical advice. Don't think of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that way. Don't think of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that way. It's true. It's true that when a person goes and he behaves according to the midas adin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu midah keneged midah will be danim for whatever it is that's happening. But when a person goes to midas chesed, he surrenders to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will, he says, I don't know how to run this boat. I agree with you. I want to do good. I want to do kindness. But where's the test? Where's the challenge? Can you extend that courtesy to other people? Then it's real. Otherwise, the midas adin is still there. It's just a gimmick. So when a person can extend the midas chesed to other people, meaning that as soon as somebody offends him, he already forgave him, because he's not going midas adin, he recognizes, yeah, this is complicated. Life, we don't know how to do it. When we're not told how to do it, life can be extremely complicated. And when we're told how to do it wrong, forget about it. So that's the avodah, that if you really recognize this, if you really recognize that human beings are lost, human beings don't know what they're doing, they're struggling, they're trying, and they need as many chances as they can get, so then you're in that zone. That's how your nefesh will interact with you. That's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu will interact with your nefesh. This is now your setting. This is your programming. This is how you're going to interact with life. When a person goes and he stands on all and everything, but they did this and they did that. Those people, many times, what they do to everybody else, they don't notice. But what the other person did, they'll remember for eternity. And that creates a very sticky relationship inside that person, and it creates a sticky relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because life doesn't work like that. Life, we all know, we've all made mistakes, we've all been through many different things, and even when we're not making mistakes, we don't really know if we're not making mistakes. Life is not that clear cut, and we have to respect that. We just have to be real with what's real. We have to be true with what's true, and this is the truth. All of us are trying, and none of us know what we're doing. This is the reality. And that's okay. And Varaya, it's okay, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it to be this way. But can we make it better? We can. We really can. And we should. We need to. Every day we waste is a waste of time. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be mevarer his malchus, bitter malchisoy va'izbarach va'adniso b'chol oelam ki roimim es Yisrael roimim es Gaudas kvat shemayim. Like we said, v'kashi Yisrael nivnim lios b'shalva. When Klal Yisrael knows how to build themselves, and they can be b'shalva, they can get together, they can be b'shalom, they can live in peace. Shleim amidas machisi yizbarach mizgalas ha-shleim isa. Then we can actually see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's malchus. So when Klal Yisrael is not getting along, when Klal Yisrael is not b'shalva, so we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's malchus. That's why we call it emuna. That's why it's called arvis. Arvis, we say emes ve'emuna. There's a time of darkness. Why is it a time of darkness? Because we can't see can't see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus works. We can't see that there's really one unity, because nobody's trying, so it's not working. But when Klal Yisrael is Masik Shalva, when Klal Yisrael is Masik Shleimus, then there's an actual demonstration of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus in this world. You can actually see it with your naked eye. You can actually look at it and see, like we will see, Yiryaneinu, v'yismach libeinu v'sogel nafsheinu, that it's something that becomes so real that the person is completely taken over by it. והיינה כפי האפשרי להצטמצם מקורס החיים, שזהו עצם החיים בליבס כל נבראי העולם. So, as much as a person can recognize what it means to be alive, he can recognize that when there's shalva in the world, when people are getting along, when there's peace, when there's coexistence, when there's happiness. Then every individual will get to his maximum ability of realizing what it means to be alive. Because he won't be afraid. There won't be anybody that's standing in his way. Everybody will be helping him to be able to manifest his deepest recognition, his deepest ability to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be grateful to be alive. Like we said before, Kol HaNeshama Ta'alel Ko, as David HaMelech is teaching us that this is the natural state of a human body. L'hoides elahalen. When a human body is not prevented from being moedeh mahala, when a human body is not under duress, then the best state for it to be is to be serving a mind, to be serving a spirit that just wants to dance and sing about the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because then he's creating the most helpful malachim that a person could have guiding him in this world and in the other world. Because he's mamish attaching himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with love. And a person does that for long enough, then his whole body, why? Because all his body tissue was created from malachim that just want to sing and dance. So everything is just one shtik joy. Everything is working together so that he can recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in this world. That there's somebody that came up with this scheme, so came up with this plan, because Voraya, it works. So when we see it works, that demonstration is as powerful as a demonstration as it can be, that somebody actually put this whole thing into motion. The shlemus of feeling alive is to feel the koyach ha'avaya rotzelemesh Hashem Yisborach mahava HaKoil v'mamale kololmen v'seviv kololmen. Al yedei argosh hazi b'yesero is the shlemus knesset sura midas machiz kanal. So a person recognizes how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making him be this very moment. So he closes his eyes and he sees that whatever he is, he's aware of, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is making him aware of that this very moment. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it, and what the forces of nature are that he used, and what are the malachim that were created in order to get to this conclusion, that's not necessarily our concern. But all we need to contemplate for that moment is that the end result, regardless of how we got there, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's masterwork. That our body is capable of projecting that type of consciousness that we're experiencing. And that's an amazing feat. It's a feat that a human being can't even dream of doing. With all the robots and all the AI and everything that they're working on, it's just taking from nature and working with it. But you can't take from anywhere else, can you? There's nowhere else to take from. So whatever we're doing, whatever we might potentially do, is only a further demonstration of how potent and real nature is. Because nature can create an intelligence within a being that can go back to the ingredients of nature and build other stuff. But even after all that, technology doesn't come close to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. Technology doesn't come close to conscious blood that thinks it's all that. And that's something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's his demonstration. This is one of the edus that we have, that there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that I can sit here and speak, that's witness that there is an HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because meat doesn't speak. So why does this meat speak? Because it's special. Why is it special? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu designated it special. It gave it conscious blood. So now it's special meat. It's meat that talks. So this is as real. This is as basic as he made it be. It's really that simple. Kim baras adam yasher. We say, I've seen it already. So once you see it, it becomes pasal edus. He's such a terrible guy. You just look at it, and asagal shel atzamas. He can't be made anymore on a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You've seen it. Good for you. Think about it again. You've seen it for 30 years. Wow. You've been witnessing a nace every single time. It's a nace. You have any other explanation for it? You don't. Nobody does. You say, no, it's natural. So, how does that solve anything? It's been happening for a long time. Okay. Wow, he's consistent. So, this is the reality we live in, but we don't recognize. The difference will be that when Mashiach comes, we shall recognize. We're going to recognize so deeply that it's going to be a bit scary. It's going to be more real than some of us are ready to handle. But we can get a head start every moment to realize how real it is. Something, some intelligence, some being made you happen, and now he's giving you this experience. Take out all the middlemen. Doesn't matter. That's just his way of working. Don't worry about how he does his things. Just look at the end result. He made you, and here he gave you. This is what he gave you. This is the reality of the moment. And this is every moment. And he never forgets to give. There's not a moment where you will go and look into your lunch bag and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't pack any lunch for me today. Every time you close your eyes, you'll see he's still there. He's making it happen. This is eternity. This is what eternity looks like as it's happening. And we're building it. We're the partners. You know, there's a type of entity, a type of arrangement where they call it a silent partner. We're not silent per se, but we're sleep partners. Kadosh Baruch Hu is creating life with partners that are asleep. And he's trying to wake up his partners. Chevre, we're trying to build a world. Wake up. It's happening. It's now. This is not a test. This is not a drill. This is live fire. Everything coming out of your mouth is live fire. There will be brain responses to that. They will cause eternity to happen. We need to understand. The spiritual is slow. It works on a very slow and steady. Every day you say again, you do again. It seems like a big deal. But it builds. It builds. Slow and steady wins the race. It builds. Every day a little bit. Every time you say something a little bit, and then eventually we have these big urges driving us around town. We don't even know why. It's all been built inside of us over time. It's just a collection of spiritual instruction, again and again and more, until it becomes a spiritual reality that you almost feel that you have no way of overcoming. It's more powerful than you. It's only more powerful because of the leverage that it had over time. You learn how to use that leverage in your own advantage, and then you can create the spiritual forces inside of you. You can create what drives you, what leads you, and what overtakes you. So it's extremely real. Extremely real. Cannot be overemphasized. Because just from habit, just from doing things over and over again, we just fall asleep at the wheel. We assume that it's meaningless. But it's not meaningless. It's not meaningless. We're creating, and anybody who's raised kids can see. Afterwards, you see those kids, and you're like, where was I when they were growing up? Well, you were right there. You're in their brain. You're still talking. So the recognition of the purpose, the recognition that it's all here the way that it needs to be, this is the malchus that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be megale. Nimtze shlema midas ha-malchus hanikeres belev ha-mivrum kasher ya'idun v'yagidun kulam ke'echot kavaya echot. When all the people on the planet will be made also with their mouth, they're already made that they're kavaya echot, just by the mere fact that they exist and that the different body portions that HaKadosh Baruch Hu designated should interact are still interacting. That alone proves that Havaya Echad. But even if that's not enough, we want every single mouth to say the words Havaya Echad, to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one. Shezei tachlis kol ribi achai shebelev shemizdabek yoseh b'mekor achayim ve'oz nivne beis hamikdash. This is what builds the beis hamikdash. This recognition of the inhabitants of this world, this builds a bias for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. It's not a recognition that you have and a few minutes later you get busy and you forget it. It's a recognition that's continuous. The Mishkan and the Mikdash are the same. That mitzad us, we seem to feel that this is a small light that's within us, and this is a bigger light that created the light that's within us. But that's only mitzad us. That really, all of it, the small lights, the big lights, all the different levels that we can contemplate, they're all one and the same, because there's only one chayis, there's only one avaya, and that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He should be megale his oir and his malchus on us. Bevias Gal Tzedek.